And now, you're tuned in to All Factors Considered. Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Factors Considered. This isn't just a normal episode. This is the 50th episode, man. So listen, thanks for sticking with us. 50 episodes. That's more or less 50 weeks, 25 weeks, something like that. We in here. But hey, man, what I need to do is bring in my co-host, AJ. AJ, what's happening, brother? Happy, 50-week anniversary. I don't know. That even sounds a little bit weird. But hey, man, I appreciate breaking down fights with you on a week-by-week basis. And I just want to ask you before we get started on things, AJ, give me just one large lesson you've learned since we started seriously covering combat sports on this program.
Man, consistency is key, Derick. That's the biggest thing I've learned, man. We guys got to grind it out no matter what. And like you taught me a big lesson on this, man. Just staying active, consistent, grinding out. It's a good takeaway to learn for any part of your life, bro.
Absolutely. And, I thought I was a big fan. Listen, I've been watching UFC and combat sports, boxing, my whole entire life. I thought I was a fan before. Now that we're really in here, really breaking it down, it goes to show, man, what you think you know is, generally speaking, not the breadth of the knowledge out there. But, hey, man, so let's do a little record recap before we get into this. Nothing's really changed. 43-39 for me, 41-41. We're both over 50% or 50% and over. So that's where you want to be, folks. I do got to give a quick little apology to the people out there that do tune into our All Bets Aren't Created Equal program we put out every Wednesday. No episode this week. I was going to do some real meticulous breakdown, like detail style, Dan Hardy style, right? I was going to really get into the inner game of this segment that I want to ultimately make it happen. But YouTube said copyright claims all day long. Didn't let it happen for me, folks. So we will be returning next week with All Bets Aren't Created Equal. And if you subscribe, drop a like, which you should do right now. Hit the little yellow notification icon. If you do that, you get access to all 3 shows put out every single week. But that's neither here nor there, AJ. Let's do what we do best, man. Let's get straight into it for UFC Vegas 26, man. Let's drop a sleeper, man.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up.
All right, AJ, I'm going to start the clock here, and then you start off for me. Who's your first sleeper for UFC Vegas 26?
Yeah, man, I love to. Thank you very much, man. My first sleeper this week, I got Christian Aguilera versus Carlston Harris, excuse me. Now, Christian Aguilera, even though, he got taught a lesson in his last fight against Sean Brady, but he's a very amazing boxer, very dangerous in stand-up. Carlston Harris, man, the talk on this dude, he's very old. That's what they say, but don't sleep on him because he's very dangerous, all right? With wins over Wellington Thurman and Michelle Ferreia, all right? This dude is super, super dangerous. And this fight, Derick, this is a sleeper to me because these fighters have basically little to no notoriety coming forward, but they both like to fight fast and fight dangerous. This can be a very quick one. Expect a very fast leadoff. I'm excited about this one. Who's your first sleeper, Derick?
Right on. I got one that's more or less on the similar vein if we're talking about expect something crazy happening very quickly. I got a middleweight matchup with Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle, facing off against Tafon the Don Nchukwi. And listen, folks, this is a sleeper. I'm going to keep this short and simple. This is a sleeper because Jun Young Park is an established MMA veteran who at 30 years old is looking to gradually climb up that 185-pound ladder, man. He's trying to go up those rankings and put all the tools that he has in his tool belt together to really make a run here. Now, he's fighting Tafon Nchukwi, who is really, very truly, he's 5-0, and he's in a very developmental stage of his MMA career. This is a dude who is probably walking around at 220, 230, who fights at 185 pounds. So that means that a knockout is almost a given, but that gas tank is very limited, and we saw in his last bout how he almost lost the fight, basically, man, because of the gas tank issue. If he doesn't get you out in the first, it's going to be a problem. Jun Young Park is the definition of resiliency. It's going to be a sleeper for that reason. Tune in, folks. AJ, give me your next sleeper.
Now, this next one, Derick, I picked this fight as a sleeper because I got to show some love to some people who aren't even on the card, but we've talked to them pretty much ad nauseum, right? Phil Hawes and Kyle Daukaus. Now, obviously, anytime there's a Daukaus on the fight, I'm excited. But to throw Phil Hawes in the mix, man, it almost seems too good to be true. Buckle up, folks. And buckle up, Derick, because we're getting dessert before dinner. This one's going to be exciting. Who you got?
I'm buckled up and ready to go, man. Let's go. Let's rock, man. My last sleeper, this is going to be a lightweight contest, man. Ludovic Klein. This dude is going to be, he's a monster, man. This dude is going to tear through the rankings. Everyone is going to know who this dude is in just a matter of a couple of months, maybe a year or so. But he's facing off against the Ultimate Fighter 27 lightweight winner in Michael Trizano, man. Trizano hasn't fought in 2 years, basically since that Ultimate Fighter stuff. He took a bad loss to Grant Dawson, submission, round 2. But Ludovic Klein, man, he has a 76-second knockout in his UFC debut against Shane Young. And if you know anything about Shane Young, you know anything about City Kickboxing, you know that's a very, very impressive win. His nickname is Mr. Highlight for a reason, but Michael Trizano, the lone wolf, is going to give him a tough time. He's a bigger man. He started his career off at lightweight. He's down there at featherweight. I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting one. It's a sleeper, folks, but most importantly, tune in and remember the name Ludovic Klein. Remember that name, folks. So listen, man, let's get into some main card action, AJ.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
And we get to start off with a very, very important bout. One bout that I believe it truly isn't getting the respect that it deserves, being that it's the first fight of the main card, the 6th fight. So from ranking 1 to 6, you put this at number 6 when we got a Maurice Greene versus Rogerio de Lima at like number 3, man. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I just feel like that's not where it should be. But anyways, man, we got Amanda Ribas facing off against Angela Hill. Amanda Ribas opens up as a minus 175 favorite with a comeback of plus 150 for Angela Hill. Now, what we need to take into consideration is this first and foremost, AJ. We have a BJJ ace, there we go. Let's put that thing back. We got a BJJ ace. We got a BJJ black belt in Amanda Ribas, who took a very vicious loss to Marina Rodriguez via knockout in the second round in her last bout. But in all honesty, if we look at how the first round went, it could have been a very long night for Rodriguez had she not gotten her out of there, man. So I need to ask you this, AJ. Give me some takes before we talk about Angela Hill. I want to take on Amanda Ribas first and foremost. What did you take out of that last performance? Is that simply just a little slip up, or do you think that was an exposure of who she is truly as an athlete?
I mean, it definitely exposed her a little bit. I think it more highlighted the fact that Rodriguez can actually capitalize on mistakes, because it wasn't that big of a hole, man. She just caught her with a couple solid number 2s down the pipe. Now, the big thing about Ribas that I took away, man, she was winning that fight until she wasn't. It just took a couple quick shots. Bap, you get caught twice. Well, you get caught once and basically get put out, and then you get caught again because you were already out on your feet. But still, the hole was there, and Rodriguez saw it and literally shot the same shot twice and literally caught her. It was a very more impressive that Rodriguez was able to maintain calmness for me instead of Ribas was exposed. Because, man, what I learned basically from that fight is I was a fan of Ribas now, man. She was after she was KO, talking to the doctor, just smiling, happy as could be. That warmed my heart. I was like, girl, even though you got KO'd, you still took it like a champ. You got a fan in me. What was one big takeaway for you, Derick?
I'd have to say that Amanda Ribas is as legit as they come on the ground, man. Like, legitimately, the way that she was dominating Marina Rodriguez, all she needed to do, she was on top basically in full guard for like 3+ minutes of control time. And striking, there's a lot to, be desired there still. But at the end of the day, man, if she gets you on the ground, it's very Mackenzie Dern-esque, man. And to see it happen against Marina Rodriguez isn't super surprising, but it spoke large to me. It spoke volumes. And the reason why is because her opponent in Angela Hill is very, very similar to that same exact fight that she fought, man. So Marina Rodriguez is a kickboxer, but she came up as a Muay Thai practitioner. Angela Hill is absolutely a Muay Thai practitioner. She was 12-0 as a Muay Thai amateur, 2-0 as a professional. She's the former Invicta Strawweight champion. She has 6 consecutive fights in the least time in UFC history. Did you know this, AJ? 337 days, 6 fights. That's just pretty impressive, because she took her approach from saying, this is the fight game. Yeah. No, this is my job. I'm punching in whenever I can. I'm trying to get a little overtime. Let's make it happen. So let's break it down for a second, AJ. So my thought process is this, man. Amanda Ribas ranked at number 11. Angela Hill's clearly ranked at number 12, but we have a big gap in terms of age, right? Ribas is 27. Angela Hill has to make it count right now, right? 36 years old. This is my thought process here, AJ. We know Amanda Ribas is going for the takedown. We know Amanda Ribas is going to basically take the same exact strategy against Marina Rodriguez. But my question is she more motivated this time to not even mess around with the striking, not even pretend that she's a striker, and instead say, no, I'm going to Mackenzie Dern you. I'm going to dominate you on the ground. Do you think that's the approach? And second part to this question, Angela Hill, man, I feel like the culmination of her experience, she's fought everybody there is to fight in the women's strawweight division, everybody, right? The culmination of all of that experience, I think, lends to this performance on Saturday night. I think that all of that experience is going to come in handy, because she's going to finally be able to put it all together and advance up these rankings, which she's been trying to do for years now. So just give me your thoughts, AJ.
I mean, you hit both X factors right on the head. If Angela Hill wants a win, she's gonna have to put Ribas out early. She's gonna have to like you said, culminate all the lessons she's learned from, and she has a very short career, but she's taking, or a very short MMA career. Her Muay Thai is a lot more advanced, but still very short in the game. And like you said, very old, needs to make it last. But she needs to end this fight early, like Rodriguez did in Amanda Ribas's last fight. And with Amanda Ribas, she needs to take her down, grind her out, make it a dirty fight, get a TKO or a decision win, and really make it long and dirty. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Derick. They have very distinct ways of winning, and both very exciting. But man, it's gonna be interesting to see which one actually is able to take advantage of the control aspect. Because if you let Angela Hill just dance around on the outside and piece you up, it's gonna be a long night.
I anticipate Amanda Ribas pressing Angela Hill the same way that she pressed Marina Rodriguez, right? We always talk about it. I love these Brazilian fighters that are real deal grapplers because they could walk forward with, little regard, you know what I mean? Just say, hey, take me down. That's fine. It's where I want to be anyways. Now, Angela Hill has noted in her pre-fight pressers that she's been working a lot on her judo, right? We have to point out that Amanda Ribas is not just a black belt in BJJ. She's also a black belt in judo. She's a real deal judoka. So she's always looking for that head and arm throw. We know that's going to be there. That means that Angela Hill needs to master that mid-range that she stays at. Not far enough where Amanda Ribas could throw some kicks and throw some big strikes out the gate on her like that, and not close enough where she can grab her. But if Angela Hill does need to get the victory, I agree with you, AJ. It does have to be through a finish. And she even noted she had the opportunity to finish her last opponent, Ashley Yoder, which was a rematch. She won that twice, right? She had the opportunity to finish, but she didn't. She's tired of split decision losses. She has 2 split decision losses in her last 5, once against Claudia Gadelha and one against one of the main event fighters in Karate Hottie, Michelle Waterson, right? So, yeah, I honestly believe that Angela Hill, she just got to press forward, walk forward, and cardio, man. 3 rounds of nonstop pace. So just give me one last take on here before we give me your picks, man. What is one thing that Amanda Ribas can do that isn't in the submission, game, isn't in the straight grappling game that can be effective against Angela Hill? Do you think she has nothing to offer on the feet?
No, it's I do think she has a lot to offer. Not necessarily from distance, a little bit in that mid-range, but I think the clinch game is actually going to be surprising. I think Amanda Ribas being shorter is going to be able to control a lot better in the clinch than Hill. They're both 5'3", if I'm not mistaken, but still, I think Amanda Ribas has just a little bit more like little girl fight in her, like you know what I'm saying, on the inside, whereas sure. Angela Hill kind of maintains that outside pressure and can. One thing I noted with Hill, man, her boxing is improving leaps and bounds, and her aggression is there. So if she can actually walk down Ribas, that's going to be surprising for me. But if Ribas is going to win this, man, and that's who I'm going with. I'll let you know my pick right now. I'm going with Amanda Ribas by decision. I think she's going to grind it out, get that win. But Angela Hill, don't count her out, man. She can knock her out.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thought process. I'm going the opposite, right? I'm going Angela Hill, and I'm going a victory by decision on this one. I think Amanda Ribas is going to be tough to get out of there because anytime she gets pieced up on the feet, I'm sure she's just going to go straight for the takedown, right? So hopefully Angela Hill can avoid that. But we already saw in Angela Hill's fight against Michelle Waterson that as the rounds progress, that's when the takedown is there, as you start getting tired. But I really, truly believe that this is going to be the true culmination of all of those experiences, all the tough losses, all the very, very close fights that she's had over the years. Now is the time to storm up the rankings. If you're Angela Hill, you are overkill. You have to go overkill mode. Leave it all in the cage. And if she does, I really do anticipate seeing a unanimous decision victory. Not a split, a unanimous decision victory for Angela Overkill Hill. Now, this next matchup, AJ, another one buried on the main card. I don't understand it. Carlos Diego Ferreira, number 12 ranked in the lightweight division, facing off against number 14th ranked Gregor Gillespie, who was only ranked number 14 simply because of inactivity, man. There's no other way in hell that this man is all the way down there in the rankings, man. So both of these fighters on a 1-fight losing streak. And we'll notice that about a lot of the fighters on this main card, man. A lot of people are just broke their crazy long winning streaks and are now losing just one, right? So I do have to note, right? Ferreira was on a 6-fight win streak prior to his last loss against Neal, which was a split decision loss. It could have gone either way. I'm very confident that the right man won the fight in Beneil Dariush, but he's running into a buzzsaw in Gregor Gillespie, who I honestly believe had a tougher task in front of him in Brad Riddell, but COVID scrapped that bout, right? Now, AJ, the NCAA Division I wrestler from Edinburgh University who took gold in 2007 at about 149 pounds in Gregor Gillespie, I think he has a serious advantage in this fight against Carlos Diego Ferreira. And the reason why is because we saw Ferreira is so crafty with the sprawl, so, quick twitch movement and just, get off me. You know what I mean? So much with that. Like, it's so tight to see. But I think Gregor Gillespie's control is going to just be too much, man. This is a man who averages 7 takedowns per fight, per 15 minutes, and Carlos Diego Ferreira has a 68% takedown defense. How can Ferreira win this fight on the feet? Because you tell me if you think he has a grappling, an advantage in the grappling at all, but how does he win the fight on the feet? Because that's what I see Gregor Gillespie's biggest weakness.
Yeah, no, agreed. And we saw that weakness get exposed in the Kevin Lee fight. Yeah. Big thing. I do think Ferreira has the jiu-jitsu advantage, so he can grapple. Don't get me wrong. He's awesome on the ground. He can grapple. But we saw Beneil Dariush completely control the ground game of Diego Ferreira. And man, if Benny Dariush, don't get me wrong, one of my favorite fighters, can do that against Diego Ferreira, Gregor Gillespie is going to have a field day, man. He's just going to keep him down. And I think that's what he needs to do is Gregor Gillespie needs to hold him down, beat him up, make this a dirty wrestling match. But if Diego Ferreira can keep things on the feet, man, I think the one way he's going to have to do it is keep staying crafty. The one thing I noted about Diego Ferreira is in his fight against Beneil Dariush is he knew he can't stay on the ground. Your back against the ground is how you lose the fight. And that whole fight, he spent the whole time basically getting up from takedowns. So if he can avoid the takedowns, stay on the feet and counter strike, we saw that Gregor Gillespie has a tendency to kind of start to brawl and leave his left hand out. He'll throw and he'll start looping his shots, and he can end up, getting caught like we saw in the Kevin Lee fight. So if he's going to do that, I think Diego Ferreira needs to get a little crafty, stay on the outside, and just maintain distance and somehow counter strike Gregor Gillespie. Now, it's a hard task because, man, Gregor Gillespie's got hands as well.
Yeah, I agree, man. And the big thing to note is both of these fighters have only been knocked out once in their career. Neither fighter has been submitted, and Gregor Gillespie has never lost a decision, which is very, very interesting to see right there, because if this does go to decision, I mean, he's only won 2 of them, right? He generally speaking finishes most of his fights. He's got 11 of his 13 wins are via finish. So that's the thing for me. I try to sit here and formulate in my mind, okay, if this fight does play out, if a finish does happen, where does the finish happen? In your mind, AJ, where would a finish take place? Would it be a ground and pound finish? Are we expecting someone who's never been submitted in either of these fighters to get submitted? What are your thoughts?
No, if this ends in early fashion, I'm going TKO, ground and pound beat up, man. I think that's how it's going to work. I don't know. We've seen that Gregor Gillespie, can get knocked out, but it's very rare. He's gone so many fights without it happening, and I don't think it's going to happen. Lightning's not going to strike twice in a row on him. As well as Diego Ferreira, man, he's got a chin. We saw him eat a lot of the Beneil Dariush shots with no problem at all. But I think if it's going to happen, the ref's going to have to step in after somebody's getting beat up on the ground, TKO finish. How do you see it playing out?
Well, man, I honestly think that Diego Ferreira, if he's smart, if he has a good game plan, he tries to avoid the ground if possible. You know what I mean? Why even take the chance of trying to grapple with a D1 wrestler? Like, it makes no sense. And that kind of brings up the point, AJ, that I wanted to kind of spin this one out too. How often do we see these matchups? We generally see like a striker versus a grappler, or a striker versus a wrestler, or whatever, a Muay Thai fighter versus a grappler, whatever the case might be. This is a 3rd degree BJJ black belt in Carlos Diego Ferreira facing off against a D1 wrestler, man, like a legit D1 wrestler, someone who competed, not as good, but literally competed and was regarded as up there with Jordan Burroughs, who some of us consider to be one of the greatest modern wrestlers of all time right now. You know what I mean? So that's the question, is how often do you remember seeing matchups like this, and what do you think this is going to prove? If like whoever wins this matchup, what does that prove in regard to wrestling as opposed to jiu-jitsu or vice versa?
Well, this is the match we used to see back in the day. This is what Royce Gracie and the whole Gracie family proved, right? That jiu-jitsu is real deal stuff, and it's for killers. Now, back then, same thing, man. Wrestling was the king, and the ground and pound was the king, and Royce Gracie showed that a little guy can over there start tapping dudes, breaking dudes' arms. And if we've seen somewhat of a resurgence of wrestling, it's become very important. It's kind of the most fundamental game plan you need going forward, because if anybody takes you down, they can just control you. Now, if Diego Ferreira can prove that jiu-jitsu is back on top, it's going to be a hell of a statement, man. We've seen the wrestling kind of take advantage of the whole, fight game process, and that'd be a cool thing to see, the resurgence of jiu-jitsu, because it is very important, but it's almost gotten overlooked in recent shadows, or in recent memory, excuse me. What do you think?
Well, it's an interesting take, man. I honestly think that this is going to be a big talking point between the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling communities as opposed. But I think that what we're going to see here is that if you are this legit wrestler, you also need to learn jiu-jitsu. And if you are this legit grappler, this just jiu-jitsu ace, you need to be able to wrestle. Because once again, folks, I'm going to point it out there. I always do, because I think this is a common misconception. Grappling and wrestling are not the same thing. You know what I mean? They're just they're different, and it's different skill sets used in both, man. In jiu-jitsu or regular wrestling, regular freestyle wrestling, things of that nature is different from MMA wrestling and from MMA grappling and things. It's all just different. I mean, that's why MMA is so beautiful, right? But lastly, before we give our picks and move on, AJ, I will say Ferreira has got that signature win that he needed. And he got that in his last fight before the Dariush loss. Now, Gregor Gillespie, I don't want to be rude here, but I don't think he's really picked up that signature win, that big name. And I think this is the opportunity to do so. So his biggest win to date is probably Vince Pichel, Yancy Medeiros. You know what I mean? That's probably the biggest wins, and that's not like the super notable names. Getting knocked out by Kevin Lee was not necessarily the best look. But at the end of the day, man, someone's going to solidify their, their place in the lightweight division, in one of the toughest divisions in the world, globally, right? So I'm going to give up my pick first. I think Gregor Gillespie ragdolls Diego Ferreira with the wrestling. I think that he just nonstop pace, pressure, show him what these Dan Gable wrestlers are about. You know what I mean? Show him what that competitor supreme nature is about. And I think he gets it done unanimous decision. What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This was actually a hard one for me, and a lot of these picks on this card were very, very, very tough for me to decide exactly what was going to happen. Because both these fighters, man, this is a real big test for both of them, and I think whoever the big name recognition win that Gregor Gillespie was looking for was that Kevin Lee fight. So to put him back after a KO, it makes a big statement, and Diego Ferreira can take advantage of that loss of momentum. But personally, I see the same thing, man. Get Gregor Gillespie just taking him down, ground and pound, beat up, make it a real tough deep waters fight. Early win though, TKO round 1. It's going to be a wrestle match, man.
All right, it's going to be something. I will just lastly leave off, folks. Diego Ferreira is a plus 150 underdog, and Gregor Gillespie minus 170 favorite. So the odds makers are seeing something there as well, man. But let's move on to this next one that I'm very confused why it's this place on the card, right? It is a heavyweight matchup, and I guess every main card could use a heavyweight matchup contest. But in my opinion, AJ, this might be the last shot for Maurice Greene, the crochet boss, man. This might be his last shot, because when you lose to Greg Hardy, you didn't just lose. When you get knocked out by Greg Hardy, it's very telling, right? He was supposed to be the dude who comes in and says, like, listen, man, I'm putting on for mixed martial arts. I'm putting on for the UFC. You don't belong in here with us, right? Greg Hardy goes to show that he's just a legit athlete. I don't know about MMA fighter. Athlete, right? You know what I mean? Gas tank could use some work, but nonetheless, the 6'7" crochet boss in Maurice Greene. This is an individual who has yet to use his length, his frame, the way that I think that maybe he should. That is the way that he can most maximize his potential. What do you think about this matchup, though, against Marcos Rogerio de Lima? Man, this is a BJJ black belt. He's fought at middleweight, 205, 265 throughout his career. He's the Tough 3 Brazil winner. And AJ, man, I know that we don't talk about this stuff often. This dude popped in 2012 for anabolic steroids, not just like anabolic steroids. Also in 2017, he had some PED issues that did get overturned, but now we have multiple instances of you know what I mean? Hey, might not be the most natural, man, and where there's smoke, there's fire. So just give me your thoughts on this matchup. I'm curious as why they put this matchup together in the first place. So just give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I think it gets so highly ranked on the card because it's just a heavyweight matchup, but I think they put this match together specifically for Maurice Greene. He suffers against people who swing heavy and can knock you out, and that's what Marcos Rogerio de Lima is, man. He's going to be able to walk Maurice Greene down, head hunt, throw leg kicks, throw head kicks. He just kind of throws this crazy variety of both up and down. But like I said, he hunts for the head with almost every single punch. Now, I think this is the last, like you're saying, this is the last shot for Maurice Greene, man, because he's suffered through some serious, he was even saying in his pre-fight presser that he was having nerve problems, body nerve problems, but he was also suffering mentally, man. Mental nerves are a thing as well. And I'm really hoping, he's finally got, the land of enchantment has cured some of that up, because he spent a lot of time finally in Albuquerque getting worked on. So, he was talking a lot. He was talking big, talking about his healing process, but this is really the time for him to actually prove it. Because, man, he's very much so on the chopping block. But my question to you, Derick, because I do think Maurice Greene can maintain that length, can maintain that pressure that we like to see, but does that style, that blessed Holloway, punches and bunches, maintain style from the outside, dip and dodge, is that going to work in the heavyweight division where you can just get one touch KO'd? Especially, how it happened almost twice to him in his last fight with Greg Hardy. What do you think?
I think it's going to be tough for him to utilize that style because he's not the quickest dude in the world either, right? Like, you're too big to use that style, in my opinion. Because then what did we see against our dude, Alex Volkov, right? What did we see with him? We see, okay, man, he used that style too, and he was losing too. But when he decided, I'm going to walk forward, I'm going to actually sit down on my shots, I think that's what Maurice Greene needs to do, because this is what stands out to me. I'm like, dude, you're 6'7", De Lima is 6'1", you have a 5-inch reach advantage, 80-inch reach, as opposed to 75 inches for De Lima, man. I'm like, you got to use that right now. But here's the big difference, right? He lands about 4 significant strikes per minute at like a 44% clip. So he's pretty accurate, but not super accurate. Now, De Lima, he throws a little bit less, almost 4 significant strikes landed per minute at a 54% clip. So that's kind of the other thing. Stop winging them, stop throwing crazy shots, just really be meticulous. And if you could just fight behind the jab, we're seeing it more and more often, AJ, are we not? That long fighters who just pop that jab out there on a very, very constant basis, they're giving their opponents trouble, because that's not something that you generally see in mixed martial arts. It's a boxing technique that is now being adopted pretty heavily, but I don't really see it too much from the heavyweights. I know Stipe has a really nice jab, but it's like in the heavyweight division, what do you see? You see big hooks, you see big headshots. He's just going to have to be more well-rounded if he wants to get the job done, man. I will have to say this, just a little context before we move on, AJ. Maurice Greene, the Crochet Boss. I love the nickname, Crochet Boss. This is an individual who is 9-6, 4-3 in the UFC, 2 knockouts, 5 submissions, 2 decisions. So that's the thing we need to be clear of, man. He's not a knockout fighter. De Lima, 17-8-1, 6-5 in the UFC, 12 knockouts, 3 submissions, 2 decisions. So that's the kind of the big difference. In my head, just immediately, I think a Brazilian versus an American. I think, oh, De Lima's the submission artist. You know what I mean? Maurice Greene's going to be knocking people out. It's the opposite, though. So we got a headhunter versus someone who would rather look to submit you. And that's where it's going to be interesting to me, because the takedown defense of Maurice Greene is 28% as opposed to 43% for De Lima, who averages less than a takedown per fight. I think this fight goes to the ground, though, to be honest with you, man. I think this fight goes to the ground, and I think Maurice Greene, he's going to be at the end of some mean ground and pound if he's not careful, man. But so I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm not too excited about this matchup, folks, as you can kind of clearly see. You know, I just think it's a card filler to have 6 fights on the card. Maurice Greene was very disappointing in his last bout. He got the big win against Jan Vellante in his fight before that, but other than that, man, we need to see something really impressive if he wants to keep a spot on the roster. I'm hoping for a banger, though, man. I'm hoping for a banger. And if, you know, like I said, De Lima, post USADA, I don't know. We'll see, man. He's on his last fight, AJ, before we give our pick, that was that forearm choke from Alexander Romanov, right? Yep. You know he's going to be looking for revenge after that, man. You can't just get big brothered like that on national TV. And, you know, come on, we're looking for revenge. So I'm going to go De Lima, and I'm going to go a unanimous decision drumming in terms of ground and pound, things of that nature. What's your pick, AJ?
Yeah, I'm with you, Derick. I'm really hoping this fight isn't underwhelming. I'm hoping Greene finds some sort of aggression, but I'm going Greene by decision. I think he's going to maintain distance, kind of outpoint him. He's been working, you know, like I said, working down in Albuquerque. So I hope he learns something, and I hope he brings a little aggression to the fight.
And there's something, too, to be said. When your back is against the wall, you have to perform. It doesn't always happen, but I always bank on that intangible that says, like, hey, man, like, if I know I'm going to get cut in my next fight, man, all right, we got to go to work. We got to walk forward. But listen, man, we got a welterweight matchup that now I'm really excited for, because this is a main event in and of itself right here. Number 9 ranked Neal Magny, man, the Haitian sensation, facing off against number 10, hands of steel, Geoff Neal, man. Both of these fighters were on big streaks before they lost their last fight, right? So both of them are on 1-fight losing streaks. And at the end of the day, AJ, Neal Magny, I think he is going to be looking to just dominate in this fight, because in the wise words of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, if you've seen Geoff Neal fight once, you've seen him fight 100 times, right? And that's not the biggest compliment. It's not a compliment at all, actually. It's not a biggest compliment to see from the very soft-spoken, nice Wonderboy Thompson, right? But it's an assessment. And sometimes when you put out an observation of yours, it's not always going to come off the nicest, but if it's true, what are you going to do about it, right? It's a hard truth pill. So Neal Magny, 24-9, 17-7 in his UFC career. BJJ brown belt, facing off against Geoff Neal, who's a BJJ blue belt, man. I see this is a grappling, this is a wrestling, this is paced all day long. That's what I anticipate for Neal Magny. However, you get hit one time trying to come in recklessly against Geoff Neal, and you are going to sleep, AJ. One-time performance of the night winner against Nico Price, believe it or not, and Geoff Neal, man. Who has the edge here, in your opinion? It's a plus 165 underdog. Is Geoff Neal with a minus 185 favorite for Neal Magny? Give me your take.
This was actually one of those hard ones for me to pick, Derick. This is an interesting match, man, because Neal Magny has that distance, but like you said, he also has the ground game advantage. Now, man, Geoff Neal, he fought one of the best fights you could against Wonderboy, but still Wonderboy did what Wonderboy does, man, and just pieced him up. But Geoff Neal has that great boxing and very powerful. You know, he has the power advantage. What I like about Neal Magny, though, he stays, that right hand stays glued to his cheek, man. Literally, no matter what he does, even if he throws it, it's right back, comes perfect back. But that being said, he does leave his left hand just a little crazy. It'll start wandering a little bit. So if Geoff Neal can capitalize on that little exposure, it's gonna be a fun night, man. It's gonna be a banger to watch. I don't necessarily see a jiu-jitsu match, to be honest with you, though, man. I don't know if Neal Magny will want to get in the clinch, or he'll definitely want to get on the ground. If he could take it to the ground, for sure, he definitely has the advantage. But I think coming in on Geoff Neal, that's the scary part. Advancing in to get the clinch, get the takedown. That's the real scary part about him, because he touches you once up, man. It's gonna be hard.
Well, let me clarify, because I didn't necessarily mean that Neal Magny is going to come in here and try to grapple with Geoff Neal. I think what he's going to do. So what I love about Geoff Neal, and actually before I say this, folks, I apologize because I was wrong on the odds. It's actually what I have here is plus 160 for Neal Magny. So he's the underdog in this fight, and minus 190 for Geoff Neal. So I apologize on that one. But what I love about Neal Magny is he basically has two ranges. He has such long arms, right? 80-inch reach versus 75-inch reach for Geoff Neal. But he has two places he likes to be in. He's either going to be smothering you in your face, grappling with you, clinching you, trying to get you down. Michael Chiesa, doing what Michael Chiesa did to him, that's what he normally does to everybody else, right? But he has another range too, where he's so far on the outside, you cannot hit him, but he's right there tagging you up, right? Hitting you with long shots. So it's either in or out. That's my game plan. If I'm Neal Magny, I say I am either all the way committed in or I'm all the way committed out. But if you find yourself in that mid-range, right? The mid-range that I said Marina Rodriguez does so well and Angela Hill does so well, and if he's in that mid-range, I think that's Geoff Neal's best option to be able to secure the knockout win, because out of his 13 wins, Geoff Neal has knocked out 8 of those 13 opponents in those wins, man. So when it comes down to strictly a striking contest, AJ, I do have to sit here and I have to vouch for my man Neal Magny, because I don't think that he should be disrespected in the way. I don't think he's being disrespected, but these odds go to show that they think that if this is just a straight stand-up match, Geoff Neal is going to have his way with them. It's important to notice that he is a southpaw, right? So that big left hand coming down the pipe is going to be a tall task, man. But Neal Magny is a tall man. So just tell me, why do you think Geoff Neal is favored here? Because I'm a little confused myself, man. Neal Magny was on a crazy streak. He was like on a 4-fight win streak prior to his loss. And then Geoff Neal, who hasn't fought that many people in the UFC, right? I think he's 5-1 in the UFC now. He was just 5-0 in that UFC stint. So, why do you think he's such a favorite?
I think it strictly comes down to what recent memory, because Geoff Neal had that crazy fight with Wonderboy where he stood up basically the whole time. He did really well. And as far as Neal Magny's last performance against Michael Chiesa, it didn't go as well because we expected him to be the one, outpacing, out ground gaming him, and it just wasn't exactly what we expected to see. So I think the matchmakers and the odds makers are going with that approach, that we were expecting Neal Magny to be so proficient on the ground that he doesn't even get touched, right? And we were also expecting Wonderboy to beat up Geoff Neal the entire time and just, piece him up karate style. But that wasn't the case, man. Geoff Neal walked him down, showed that he has great defense as well as great hands. And if it wasn't for that that accidental headbutt, it could have been a lot more interesting of a fight. Now, I do think, like you said, man, the only real advantage Geoff Neal has as far as like pacing and distance is that middle ground, is that boxing ground. So I do think that Neal Magny has more paper options as far as which way to win. But we'll see when paper meets Matt, man, because it's going to be an interesting fight. This one is actually very hard for me to pick.
Yeah, man, and I do have to point out this too, man. We have a great camp competition here, I guess we could say that. So Neal Magny coming out of Elevation Fight Team. Who's to say he might have a Trevor Whitman in his corner or something like that, right? But you got a cardio machine, a cardio camp like Elevation Fight Team facing off against a mean coach in Saif Saud, man, fighting out of there at Fortis MMA. He's kind of that cheat code that everyone is talking about in regards to James Krause, right? They say, well, you got James Krause in your corner, it's just a cheat code. You have Saif Saud in your corner, man. This dude knows how to motivate you. He knows how to talk to you on a level. Even Uriah Hall would say, like, Uriah Hall found Saif Saud late in his career, and he says he's revitalized my career more or less. He's allowed me to, do some things, motivated me, and being able to talk to me in certain ways. TJ Brown said it as well, even when it was like round 4 or round 3, you know what I mean, in his fight against Kai Kamaka. Dog tired, Saif Saud just said something that got him, okay, we're ready to go. We're ready to rock, man. Or not Saif Saud. Actually, that was James Krause on that one, so I apologize. Come on. Dominant coaches out here. But the big catalyst here, let's give our picks here, but the big catalyst is that Neal Magny averages 2.5 takedowns per fight, and Geoff Neal has a 92% takedown defense, man. So it's really going to be interesting to see who wins that battle, because if Geoff Neal can keep this fight standing, it'll be a lot closer than if he starts getting taken down, man. But I'm going Neal Magny, man, and I'm going a grinded out 3-round unanimous decision because I think I think he probably really took that loss against Michael Chiesa on the chin. Like he's like, I got to come back and I got to go and just devastate in this performance. Give me your pick, AJ.
Yeah, man. No, I can totally see that happening. Personally, I think it's going to be Geoff Neal with a KO round 2. I think it's going to be a battle, man, up and down, back and forth. Like you said, Geoff Neal has amazing takedown defense. And if I'm not mistaken, Saif Sahoud wasn't in his corner in the Wonder Boy fight, so now he is. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one, man. Geoff Neal, KO round 2. That's what I got.
Okay. I mean, he's going to be looking back too, man. He's saying, I just lost on my big streak, having to fight a dude like Wonder Boy, who's the most annoying dude to fight just because they're so hard to hit, right? I need someone to stand in front of me so I could just drop their head off their shoulders. But listen, man, that might happen in this matchup right here, this welterweight contest, which is a co-main event. Donald Cowboy Cerrone facing off against Alex Great White Shark or Great White Morono. Either way, man, Morono stepping in on very short notice, replacing Diego Nightmare Sanchez because he was unceremoniously released from the UFC on his retirement fight. We don't even need to go into the craziness that is, you know what I mean, that situation. But I do want to say this, man. Donald Cerrone, he made a note that he does not want to be fighting at welterweight. He wants to be fighting at lightweight, and he's really kind of annoyed that he has to take this fight because at the end of the day, this does nothing for him. Win or lose, this does absolutely nothing for him or his career. He's ranked in the lightweight division, not ranked in the welterweight division. And listen, man, let me give a little bit of context first, AJ. So the context behind Cowboy Cerrone, who everybody should know. If you don't know, you truly have not been watching any UFC ever because he's been here from like the jump, right? Damn near. 10 knockouts, 17 submissions, 9 decisions. He's 36-15 in his MMA career, dude. That is, my math is a little slow. That's like 40 plus fights. Ridiculous, right? 23-12 in the UFC. But this is the thing we need to know. There's two tales of Donald Cerrone. There's the lightweight Donald Cerrone, and then there's the welterweight Donald Cerrone, like I just mentioned, right? 17-6 at 155 pounds, which is where Donald Cerrone started his career off. 6-6 with 1 no contest at welterweight, and it's been a really tough string of luck for Donald Cerrone pretty much recently, man. Now, Alex Morono is a young killer, 30-year-old killer, right? Donald Cerrone's 38, for context, a little bit older, right? BJJ black belt, Taekwondo black belt, one-time Fight of the Night winner against Song Kanong, former Legacy FC 170 champion, losing that last fight to Showtime Pettis in Showtime Pettis' last fight in the UFC, man. I really thought Morono was going to get the job done. I thought he was going to play spoiler. It didn't work out there, man. But he's got some pretty, you know what I mean? Some notable wins, right? Reese McKee, not really, but Max Griffin, that's a notable win. Zach Otto, that's a notable win. What do you think about this matchup, man? I have the big question surrounding this, and I want to cover this one kind of quickly so we can move on to the main event. The big catalyst surrounding this matchup is that we don't know what that training camp is looking like for Morono. This is short notice. Like, I don't know what his cardio is looking like. And Donald Cerrone, in his last fight against Nico Price, he was tough all 3 rounds through, man. It ended up in a no contest. We could talk about it in a second, but give me your take, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question, right? Late game replacement, in Alex Morono. But he was saying that in his pre-fight presser that he's actually ready. A lot of his teams are fighting. He just competed in a in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match or a tournament, so he's gonna be ready. I mean, he's been coaching. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. But the big thing to me is if Donald Cerrone actually shows up. If the BMF shows up to fight, this is gonna be a scrap, man. And I mean, you alluded to it earlier. He doesn't really have anything to fight for. He doesn't have any stake in the 170-pound division. So I actually think that's a pro. He doesn't have anything to lose. Before, when he was a little nervous, he's on that 4-fight losing streak. He had a little bit of tension going in. But now he's like, fuck it, dude, let's just throw hands. Look, I don't really win or lose. 170 doesn't matter to me. He made a statement in his pre-fight presser that his stipulation, caught something, brother. It was a stipulation in his contract with Dana that this fight doesn't really mean anything. Like I'm not, if I lose, I'm not, on a five fight losing streak. I still have another fight after this. Yeah. So with that assurance going in, he might see some old school BMF show up. Yeah. Now, to me, Alex Morono is that younger Donald Cerrone. That's kind of what I liked about him, man. He's that younger Donald Cerrone. He is down to put his foot in the tire and just swing the phone booth, and that's why I like him, man. It's gonna be a fun fight.
I think it's going to be a banger. And just to clarify on what Dana White had said in regard to Donald Cerrone, he basically had noted that, like, listen, man, you've never given me an issue. You're the dude who always shows up, always takes the fights, is always filling in, kind of that Kevin Holland style. Short notice fight, Angela Hill, Kevin Holland style. All right, good. And Donald Cerrone said, he was like, man, I'm glad Morono took the fight, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, Dana White said, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to punish you based on your decision for this fight. So he says, hey, man, I can't be the dude who's always talking about I'll take a fight against anyone, anywhere, and then be like, yeah, except this time, right? Like, you can't do that. You know, you got to be the real BMFer, right? Training out of the BMF ranch. Dude trains by himself, basically, at this point. No more Jackson Winks out there. But he's facing off against Saif Saud, man. Come on. Alex Morono in that Fortis MMA camp is going to be very dangerous. And he's a killer. The only problem I have with Morono is that he lacks that MMA experience in terms of just, he doesn't have enough data. Not nearly as much as Donald Cerrone. And he got caught against Showtime Pettis, who was also another tricky dude to fight. Kind of similar to Wonder Boy with that kind of karate style, right? He falls into the trap of following his opponent sometimes, right? And that's what you don't want to do. That's what Amanda Ribas did against Marina Rodriguez, right? Just kind of followed her around in an endless circle instead of cutting off the cage. And that's what you don't want if you're Morono. Now, I will have to say, in Donald Cerrone's last fight against Nico Price, it was very competitive, but Price was putting it on him for all 3 rounds. I will say Donald Cerrone wasn't winning the fight, but he was in there, and it was a dogfight. It's not nearly as bad as people would make it seem, man. And he messed up, what's his name? I was just talking, Nico Price, there we go. He messed up the hybrid's face bad, man. Now it gets overturned to a no contest simply because Nico Price popped for marijuana, which is now no longer a violation. So, in all honesty, Donald Cerrone's on a 5-fight losing streak, man. I don't know if he turns it around here, man. But I know that he's going to sit out there. He got the beard, right? He went full bald last fight. He got the beard now. I think he's ready to get out there and make it happen. At the end of the day, Cowboy, most finishes in UFC history with 16, most knockdowns in UFC history with 20. And come on, man. Alex Morono is looking to play spoiler. He says, I'm going to try to kill the man on Saturday, and he can have his retirement fight after if he wants to. But at the end of the day, I'm looking to take somebody's head off of their shoulders. I'm going Alex Morono simply because how often do you get an opportunity like this, AJ, being young in your career? No real notable wins in your career. Like I said, losing against Anthony Pettis was pretty tough, and that would have been a big win for him. You don't get many opportunities to fight a legend like this in Donald Cerrone, and if you can knock him out, if you could really put Cerrone away, man, that skyrockets Alex Morono in terms of fan stock, in terms of his popularity. So I'm going Alex Morono, and I'm going a lot of decisions on this fight, but I'm going decision again because Cerrone is tough to get out of there, man. He's really tough to get out of there. So give me your pick. Yeah,
no, I agree with you, and I think Morono is guessing is going to be fine. I don't think we have to worry about that, even though it is a late fight replacement. But I do think that if he wants to get the win, he's going to need to get a KO win. I don't know if Donald Cerrone is going to be able to, are going to be make it interesting early in the beginning. He was saying that he's going to come out prepped, ready to fight, going to do 2 rounds in the back. But we've known he's a slow starter. So I think if Alex Morono wants to get that win, he's going to need to capitalize on that aspect. But personally, this was another hard one for me, man. I'm going Donald Cerrone by decision. I think the vet's going to come out. I think he's going to grind it out. I think he's going to get a good win. We're going to see a good KO or a kickboxing match, But this one's a hard one for me, man. I'm not as confident in this one, but I'm hoping for a Donald Cerrone decision win at the end of the night.
I don't think that you should be too worried about this one because there's a real possibility of Cerrone winning this fight. In my way, I forgot to mention this, so now I'll mention it before we move on. Donald Cerrone in round 3 against Nico Price, man, he took Price's back and he had him in trouble in terms of a submission, man. And I think that's the strategy if you're Donald Cerrone. You say, I got this young kid who's going to try to take my head off, pressure me the same way Nico Price pressured me. What do I need to do to counteract that pressure is use his pressure against him, take the back, submit him, man. Now, Alex Morono has never been submitted, but Donald Cerrone, 17 submissions, man. You don't get that just playing around, man. Like he's a real ace. He's a BJJ black belt under Elliot Marshall, man. So I mean, there's something to be said there. But like I said, Morono's a black belt as well. So listen, man, let's move on to the main event. It's here. We didn't know when this was going to happen, folks. This was a really weird week. We didn't even get like the fight lineup, the fight card solidified until like Wednesday, right? So this is like the day before we record or whatever the case may be. This was just a really spur of the moment type of card, man. But I'm happy that we got this main event because number 6 ranked Marina Rodriguez facing off against the Karate Hottie, number 9 ranked Michelle Waterson, man. Listen, let me ask you this, AJ. After Michelle Waterson's previous 3 outings, right? She fought Angela Hill, Carla Esparza, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, man. That's just about as tough as it gets in the strawweight division, man. You can't sit here and say, oh, she lost a couple. Yeah, she lost against damn near the best of the best. 2 former champions and someone who is a real deal contender in Angela Hill. Now, when we look at Marina Rodriguez, we see Amanda Ribas as a win, knockout round 1, losing to Carla Esparza as well, and then Cynthia Calvillo. So then you could sit there and argue this is damn near just as tough. This Calvillo, Ioane, and Jacek, not the same, but they had really, really tough outings in the last 3, which has led to the culmination of them being ready to take each other on. You cannot sleep on the karate hottie Michelle Waterson, man. You can't. She's too experienced, too much of a veteran. Who has the advantage here in this fight, man? Both of these are legit strikers, man. You got, karate style, MMA style in Waterson versus a Muay Thai kickboxing style in Rodriguez. The one caveat is that if Michelle Waterson wants to take this fight to the ground, she will, and that's been a big part of her game plan in all 3 of her last fights. So just what do you think? Who has an edge here overall as an MMA fighter?
I think the edge here overall goes to Waterson, especially experience-wise, ground game-wise, and striking like technique. I think she has the overall advantage. But Marina Rodriguez hits harder. Marina Rodriguez can actually get that KO win, where Waterson's, like you said, a little more karate style. She's going to outpoint you. And that's where I think the biggest advantage one way goes to Rodriguez. But overall, man, I'd give it to Waterson. What do you think?
You know, I have to say the same exact thing. I think Michelle Waterson definitely has an advantage here. She's seen so much action in that cage. Her last 3 fights, man, have been very, very, those have been learning lessons, man. She got pieced up against Ioane and Jacek. She lost all 5 of those rounds, in my opinion. Now, the Angela Hill fight, very, very close. It literally went down to the wire, man. I had it 2-2 going into the 4th round after watching this fight multiple times, right? 2-2 going into the 5th round. 5th round, with 1 minute left in the fight, they were tied in significant strikes, 18-18. And then I think that Michelle, like, listen, you can't be mad about who won that fight. One of y'all had to have done more to really solidify it. Like, you can't be mad that the judges gave it to one person as opposed to the other in a split. But nonetheless, man, let's point this out. Michelle Waterson, she is listed as an orthodox fighter, but that's not really the case. She's really a switch fighter, right? Because when she goes to southpaw, you know that lead leg is about to do some work, man. So one of the things that I noticed with Michelle Waterson is that she has a couple of strikes that she likes to use the most, right? She has a front kick. She has her little, it's like that karate side kick to the body and to the head, right? And you know, she has these strikes out of the clinch, big elbows out of the clinch, right? She sometimes, I don't remember what it's called, but the thing that the Thai fighters, they wear around their head, the thing Yuri Prohashko is trying to like imitate, right? She wears that. She's not a Muay Thai fighter, but she is Thai. She's literally Thai fighter, right? From Thailand. She's not from Thailand, but you know, ethnicity and shit. Yeah, listen, man. The point is that she has a little bit of all of that stuff, man. She's a true martial artist. She trains with Holly Holm all the time, sitting there at Jackson Wink Academy, man. I think Marina Rodriguez does have the power advantage. Yeah, there we go, right? Shout out to Albuquerque, you know, but I think Rodriguez definitely has the advantage on the feet, man. But Michelle Waterson, once again, man, she could take this fight to the ground at any time she wants. And we've seen she was able to control Angela Hill for 3+ minutes, you know what I mean, when she did that, right? We saw that Marina Rodriguez has this tendency when she gets put on her back to not immediately try to get up, instead try to drop elbows on you, and that's just going to be her downfall, man. So we need to see an evolution of the game. It's very much like Kevin Holland being in that closed guard with Marvin Vettori around him or Derek Brunson. You need to open up the guard, put the feet on the hips, and try to escape. That's what you need. Now, will we get there? Will he get to the ground? I don't know, man. But I do know that Rodriguez, has a 59% takedown defense. And Michelle Waterson, she's... All right, AJ. Listen, this is something that I got to say very quickly, man. Marina Rodriguez, she stays in that mid-range right there, just like I was talking about Angela Hill. If you want to beat Michelle Waterson, what you need to do is you need to make her box with you. Take away the legs, right? Ioane and Jacek did a very, very good job of that when they fought, because her strategy was every time you try to throw something at me, I'm throwing 3 or 4 back and I'm right in your face. If you throw so much in that mid-range against Michelle Waterson, she kind of freezes up a little bit and she'll throw one thing back. She'll throw a big front kick up or something like that and just get pieced up. Ioane and Jacek literally put a masterclass on her. Is Marina Rodriguez Ioane and Jacek? No. Does Marina Rodriguez have a talented offensive repertoire? Yes. Can Michelle Waterson do the veteran thing and squeak out a win? Yes. Now, I'm so conflicted in this fight, AJ, but one of the big advantages, too, is the clinch, right? Michelle Waterson likes the clinch, but Marina Rodriguez is 5'7", as opposed to the 5'3" stature of Michelle Waterson, which tells me that the taller fighter generally is favored in the clinch because they are taller. They can get the trips down a little bit easier, right? We're probably going to see a repeat of the Loma Luke Boonmi Sam Hughes with that clinch, man. Just the just the ferocity in that clinch. Now, AJ, what does this fight mean in terms of where they go in the division? Because we already see both of them have opportunities of winning. There's very talented fighters, but if Michelle Waterson wins, I'm hearing inklings that she might get like a title shot or something. And I'm like, why? But like, why would you? You know what I mean? Marina Rodriguez, she skyrocketed up after Amanda Ribas. She doesn't deserve a title shot either. Where do they go with a big win on either side?
I just don't think there's enough weight in the water. I don't think there's enough ducks in the pond is what is kind of the problem they're running into with why they're going to get a title shot so early. And now I do think Michelle Waterson has a little more inclination as far as she has a bigger repertoire of getting to there. So she has a little more, bite to the claim of a title shot, where Marina Rodriguez is just kind of riding the momentum. And we've seen a big thing with the UFC is somebody's riding the high, man. They're going to send them right to the top. We've seen it with Derrick Lewis. He wasn't even ready, but still he got to fight DC. One thing real quick, though, I wanted to point out, I think with Michelle Waterson, you were saying she struggles in the boxing range, which for sure, because Marina Rodriguez, like I was saying, she has that power advantage. But Michelle Waterson has learned those elbows, those sneaky little elbows that you were talking about. I think that's her one defense in the boxing range, where if Rodriguez wants to do well, she does need to piece her up bunches and bunches. Now, that being said, can that go down? Because like you said, is Marina Rodriguez that inside Joanna Jędrzejczyk fighter? It's going to be hard to see. Do you actually see Marina Rodriguez being able to get up off her back? That was one of the big things I had, is once Michelle Waterson gets us to the ground, it's kind of over. We saw Ribas control her basically anytime she wanted to when she had her on the ground.
There's a very clear path to victory for Michelle Waterson if she decides to go that grappling range, but I do think she gets off of her back. You want to know why, AJ? Because every round starts up on the feet. So that's the same thing we saw with Ribas, man. She just wrote it out. Says, all right, round two. All right, I got it. That's what I noticed, right? So round one of that Ribas fight, she gets taken down. Nothing she could do. She starts round two and she says, okay, I need to sit down on these shots, dude. You know what I mean? I can't sit here and get taken. I need to take this person out, right? So I think Marina Rodriguez, if she corrects the mistake that she made against Ribas, which was just throwing blind right hands down the pipe time and time again. When she caught Ribas, you know what she did? She threw a 1-2 instead of just the 2. That's literally all she did, right? So I do think that the reach advantage, she has a 3-inch reach advantage, is going to play a big role in this fight, and I think that she can hurt Michelle Waterson, man. I haven't seen Michelle Waterson hurt very much, but I think that she has the capability of hurting Michelle Waterson, stumbling her, rocking her, because I'll tell you, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, we already know she's not a big knockout fighter or anything like that, but she landed a couple like kicks to the literally to the face of Waterson. Didn't even phase her. Waterson just smiles. It's like, yeah, okay. And that's the part though right here, which is why I'm not discounting Michelle Waterson. I'm not counting her out whatsoever. I would not be surprised if she dominates this fight. And the reason why is because she's a dog, dude. Like, she is really like about it. And it's just crazy to see because of, she's portrayed as so nice and all that stuff. No, she's a killer in the cage. Training out of Jackson Winks, man. My question to you, AJ, do you think she's picked up a little bit of that Claressa Shields boxing strategies out there in Jackson Wink? Because Claressa Shields is working out there, man. She's working with Holly Holm. Holly Holm and Michelle Waterson are super tight. I'm just saying, if she picked up a little bit of that boxing stuff and she showcases that, man, it might be a long night for Rodriguez. But at the end of the day, her best path to victory is using the Muay Thai, being mean. Every time she grab that clinch and drop elbows. That's Rodriguez's style, man. So let's just give our picks so we can give a fight of the night. Go for the fight of the night picks after this, man. Who are you going with and why? And let me just mention before you give your pick, because, folks, sorry, forgot. -200 favorite is Marina Rodriguez with a +175 comeback for Michelle Waterson, man. So the odds makers are liking the Brazilian, the 3-1-1 UFC Brazilian. Who are you picking, AJ?
So me personally, man, I'm giving the advantage to Waterson. And I think, like you said just before, man, she's mean. I don't know if you've ever seen girls in a powder puff football match, but they'll literally break each other's arms. And now these girls can go in there and actually do that. And I would say Waterson is probably one of the most happily mean people I've ever seen fight. Like, even in the JJ fight, I'm not gonna mispronounce that name again. In the JJ fight, she was getting beat up. She got hurt a couple times. She just gets up smiling, happy as can be. But she's a dog, though. So I personally, I'm going Waterson with a grind out decision win. I think she's gonna outpoint Rodriguez, maintain distance, hurt her in the clinch, make Rodriguez not really want to be there, man. I think it's gonna be a really fun fight. Waterson by decision. Who you got and why?
So I'm going to just caveat this before I give my actual pick. Michelle Waterson can win this fight through the grappling as well. I just talked about how Cerrone can do that. Michelle Waterson can do it as well. In the third round of her fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she very, very quickly finally got the takedown on Joanna, which was the game plan the entire time, right? She wants to take down these big strikers. But what did she do with that takedown? She didn't look to control. She jumped on the back and locked in her rear naked really quickly. Now, it was over the chin, and that was Joanna's saving grace right there. But I'll tell you what, man, if she could clamp that down on Rodriguez, she's literally going to be like, I'm going to do what Amanda Ribas failed to do, which was instead of sitting there and controlling, just pass the guard, do whatever you can, and just choke him out and get him out of there, right? I think that's going to be the game plan for Waterson, completely submission-oriented, because we know you don't want to strike with the striker. That's never the game plan, right? Which is, once again, Neal Magny, Geoff Neal. That's why I think it's going to be a grappling contest, man. You don't strike with the striker. It's just not what you do. If you're smart, anyways, right? Last thing, Marina Rodriguez. She started MMA at 28 years old. She was a graphic designer who wanted to, she was a little tired of her sedentary lifestyle, so she picked up MMA and just became a fucking savage. So I'm picking Marina Rodriguez. I'm picking a 5-round decision victory over Michelle Waterson. Is it a risky pick? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? Yes, and the reason why is I just think that if she could use her jab, which she doesn't very much, her teep is her jab because she's a Muay Thai fighter, and Muay Thai fighters don't really use jabs, right? If she can keep that teep and she can keep Michelle Waterson in that mid-range, it's going to be a long night because I'm telling you, Michelle Waterson struggles when you throw punches and bunches in the mid-range. So that's my pick. You got anything else before we do fight of the night?
Nah, that's it, my brother. I'm actually very excited for all of these fights for this card. It's kind of an up and down card, a real sleeper of one where we don't really have any big names or big favorites. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun match.
I agree. I'm not really too hot on that Maurice Greene versus Rogerio de Lima, to be honest. But aside from that, the rest of the fights are bangers, bro. Honestly, it's just sometimes we get a card where I'm just like, why? Okay, all right, that's fine, whatever. You got to oblige the contracts at the end of the day, right? They are contracted to fight a certain amount of times every year. Anyways, man, you know what time it is.
And now, the all factors considered fight of the night picks are in.
All right, AJ, who's your fight of the night?
Man, this one's hard. I think there's going to be a lot of good scraps. Like I just said, I think there's going to be a lot of really good fights. I'm going Mari. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going Mari. I'm going Amanda Ribas, Angela Hill, brother. I think it's going to be a good fight. The girls are going to put on. It's going to be fast, fun, and a lot of blood. Hopefully, who you got? Why?
Well, in the wise words of Angela Hill, she says that she thinks she could starch a lot of these strawweights in terms of the stand-up, man. So it should be a good one. I'm going back to my first sleeper. I'm going Jun-Young Park versus Tafon and Chukwi. And the reason why is because I think Jun-Young Park is going to get absolutely destroyed in the first round, make a comeback in round 2 and round 3, and that's what makes the fight of the night, right? Is when someone's getting pieced up and then they find a way to come back and make it super competitive. That's the Iron Turtle. Come on, man. Your nickname is the Iron Turtle for a reason. Shell up, take the damage in the first round, come back, and put it on his ass, man. He's 12-4, looking to move up to 13. It's going to be a good one, man. And with 20 seconds left, AJ, I just want to give a quick preview really, really quickly. Let's see what we got lined up. Bellator 258 is happening on the 7th. That is tomorrow night, Friday. So this is dropping on Friday. Tonight, folks, pretend we're doing this live, right? Friday, come on. What you're going to see is Juan Archuleta versus Sergio Pettis, Anthony Pettis' younger brother, man. It's going to be a banger. Trust me. Tune in on Bellator, folks. But that's all the time we got. And AJ, man, pleasure and an honor as always, man. But what do they need to do? The folks that are watching, listen, man, we love you for supporting. We love you for tuning in. But drop a like, subscribe. There's a little box, there we go, somewhere over there, right? A little box. Subscribe. Do all the good stuff, man. Go check out our website, All Factors Considered, newly updated. Just put a fresh coat of paint on that G thing, man. And listen, folks, can't do it without you. So tune in and be back with us. We will be back on Monday for our post show to talk about all the madness that just happened. So that's it for us, folks. Until next time.